how's it going everyone? This is the Anime Man.
Chances are, if you watch any amount of anime YouTube, then you've probably seen that intro before. But I honestly can't focus on it so much. If you're interested to know why, then stay tuned. Hello everyone, my name's Link, here to talk about both new and old anime you might not have heard of. For our spoopy month, I thought why not talk about horror anime? Like a good one. An actual good horror anime. And one that's just pure horror, not some horror as a backdrop to some shonen things happening. Or, let's be real, not the Junji Ito collection anime. So let's talk about one of my all-time favorite anime, Mononoke. Not to be confused with the Ghibli one though. Which is actually the reason I think this anime wasn't so popular. I bet you if you pause this video and go Google Mononoke, then you're gonna get like 80% sen and maybe 3 pics of this mystical magical man. Mononoke the series actually originated as a short story from another anime, Ayakashi, classical Japanese horror. That anime featured 3 short horror stories revolving around samurais, and Mononoke, back then called Bakeneko, served as its finale, wowing the audience enough that they demanded more. Already building a reputation for itself, no? After popular demand, it came back a year later as a fully fledged series of its own, centering around Kasuri Yuri-san. God, I'm gonna trip over the name so much in this video. I could have gone the easy route and called him the literal translation medicine seller, but I ain't no pussy! Over his encounters with yokais, or in this series they're called Mononoke, tormenting or haunting the places he stumbled upon. While he has the means to exorcise them, he can't easily draw out his power. His sort of exorcism needs the form, the truth, and the reason to activate. The form being the identity of what yokai he's fighting. The reason is the intent of why they are rampaging as they are. And lastly, the truth, the things that aren't what they seem. For the sake of putting the spirits to rest, we're made to join him on the ordeal of peeling the many layers of those yokai's history piece by piece. It's already such a good recipe for an eerie mystery anime. And if you watch my older videos, then you'd know how much I love mystery anime. Add to my fondness the Japanese folklore, then the series just came out for my heart. Mononoke is just a gift that keeps on giving, with its perfectly balanced horror, mystery, and folklore, entangling you in the world it created where you're both horrified to go forward, but also won't be able to deal with yourself if you stop now. I wish I was joking when I say some scenes can have like 5 frames of animation, but also not, because the anime uses it to its full advantage. I love horror. I like being scared, but I also hate most modern horror shows and games today. I can't be the only one who's gotten so tired of the weak and cheap jump scares and gore fest lots of horror media have defaulted into now. Sure, it gets me and makes my heart jump, but after it's done, I find myself more annoyed than scared. Because the only way I can actually enjoy its jump scares is if it's a funny let's player shouting at the top of their lungs and I can laugh at the reactions. So Mononoke is actually the complete antithesis to that. It's so disturbingly still. Jump cuts from wide shots give you that sinking, dreadful feeling that something's wrong. You just know outside of your usually all-seeing vision as the viewer that there's an anomaly that's happening right under your nose. Even the way Sakurai Takahiro delivers his lines,
ただの薬売りですよ.
how he doesn't finish his sentences in one go and pauses between his words to leave you in suspense. It hammers home the way they leave you dangling in anticipation. It scares you in its silence, its lack of movement, because we're predisposed to believe that everything will go wrong, and that something could be happening right in front of you, but you're purposely just given the crumbs to give you the faintest idea. The psychological horror it's slowly feeding you, keeping you alert and afraid. It's very smart with saving both time and energy setting up their tone like this. It can almost come off as lazy, if for not how well they plant that fear in you. But this isn't to say that they are incapable of breathtaking Sakuga moments. They know how to play their cards right in keeping quiet until the very climax of each case. And I'll respect that. Just take my word for it when I say they can hold tension like a string. And when the string finally snaps, i.e. the form, the reason, and the truth all come together, you get the most satisfying snap of all. First stepping into the anime, you might seem a bit put off. The style is grainy and almost caricature-like, that even back in the wild times of 2007, It wasn't all that familiar, but believe me when I say it grows on you. It's definitely a style that worked better in still photos. And I don't exaggerate when I say that these are the most aesthetically pleasing pieces of art I've ever seen. And I'm so mad I don't know where the full HD pics are, because I could just turn this into my wallpaper. Like, I want this stuff on a shirt, damn it. And on that note, we can finally go back on that topic. The reason I could never focus on the TheAnimeMan's video is I immediately spotted his Kasiriyuris and Figma in his case. My mind just immediately shuts off when I see all 10 pixels of Kasiriyuri-san. It's like the shoujo manga moment where the world fades away and sparkles appear around his grainy figure. And then the video is over and I had no idea what Joey was talking about. Anyway, it's a little bit unrelated, but the show actually has a sense of humor. Kasiriyuri-san's tongue-in-cheek antics sends me cackling. And these bits of gallows humor sprinkled around the series provides a bit of a solace, so that the series isn't a complete dark cloud of seriousness and death. I think I already stated before that I absolutely love Kasiriyuri-san's character. His design just pops out amongst his almost monochromatic peers, and his characters and origins is a mystery, so much so that one could say that he has no character, because his default mode is to sit back and watch things transpire in front of him to gather as much information as he can. But thanks to the bits of his little remarks and subtle expressions, you can see a bit of a charming character hiding all that composed coolness. So, should you watch Mononoke? I'll be rating the shows I covered here with these stars. 1 star is, I suffered for this anime so you don't have to. Something else is worth your time. 3 stars is, definitely give it a go. It was an enjoyable ride despite its flaws, and or it could be covering certain niches you could be interested in. While 5 is just, add it to your anime Bible, a show any fan should definitely be watching. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I always try to add a con to the series I talk with you guys. Well, Mononoke doesn't have any. It's perfect. Sure, you might be a bit confused and lost at first, but what's any good mystery anime if you don't feel even a little bit puzzled? And yeah, sure, not all the stories that they have are as hype as the others, but it has like 5 stories in it. So of course some aren't as hype as the others. I'm kidding, guys. The series is weird. Its characters and their acting all over the top, and some motives can be equally confusing. And if you don't find yourself weirded out, then you might find yourself disturbed. The series doesn't shy away from using the most brutal of human depravity on display to fuel its plot. I think it's obvious by now, but I give Mononoke a solid 5 stars. Its artistry and premise can only go so far, but it's wrapped all its tiny little details into a well-presented package. It manages to be both slow and fast-paced at the same time. And I do think a lot of people turned away from the series due to its particularly weak and confusing opening, as it started out as a crawl, then jumped into a run without looking back if the viewer is following. And the aforementioned unfortunately being named after a very well-known Ghibli movie. I can't push you guys enough to please give this series a try. As for the watch order concerning the Ayakashi short, because I do highly recommend watching that as well, I accidentally watched it last, as the stories all seem disjointed like one-off stories. But actually, the short takes place before the series began. So my experience with watching it ended up being following this protagonist who seems to know it all and was above it all, and was charmed when I later saw his earlier days in Ayakashi, and he actually fumbled and seemed lost. It showed that even he made mistakes and had room to grow. But by doing it this way, you kinda miss out on an homage the series had to its Ayakashi predecessor. So I would suggest watching episode 9 to 11 of Ayakashi, or all of it if you want to, but I personally feel like Kasiriyuri-san outshone the other 2 short stories in the series. Then watch the Mononoke series in full. It's completely bingeable if you ask me. And that's it for this video, guys. Since this is a somewhat Halloween special thing, what's your favorite kind of candy? Sound off on the comments below! As always, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more niche anime recommendations. Jane!